Is my broadcast still paused? I think it's because I forgot to hit I went live and then went, oops, I forgot to do the countdown. I think that's why. I think that's what made it look like it paused. I just got a wicked shiver of cold. Good morning. Happy February 7th. I always remember February 7th because my quads. Because it is my friend Heidi's birthday, and it's also Garth Brooks. I just always remember that because it's Heidi's birthday, that it also is Garth Brooks' birthday. So happy birthday, Heidi and Garth Brooks. All right, February 7th, the 10 Commandments, Exodus 20. I'm in the dark. Is it too dark? Do I need to turn on? It hurts too bad to get up from this chair, or I would get up and turn on a light. But my quads hurt so bad that if I get up from this chair, I may not be able to get back to it. Just so you know. Thank you, Tribe Healthy Workout. All right, the 10 Commandments, Exodus 21 through 21. Then God gave the people all of these instructions. I am the Lord your God, who rescued you from the land of Egypt, the place of your slavery. You must not have any other God before me. You must not make for yourself an idol of any kind or an image of anything in the heavens or on the earth or in the sea. You must not bow down to them or worship them, for I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God who will not tolerate your affection for any other gods. I lay the sin of the parents upon their children. The entire family is affected, even children in the third and fourth generations of those who reject me. But I lavish unfailing love for 1,000 generations on those who love me and obey my commands. You must not misuse the name of the Lord your God. The Lord will not let you go unpunished if you misuse his name. Remember to observe the Sabbath day to keep it holy. You have 6 days each week for your ordinary work, but the seventh day is a Sabbath day of rest dedicated to the Lord your God. On that day, no one in your household may do any work. This includes you, your sons and daughters, your male and female servants, your livestock, and any foreigners living among you. For in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth and the sea and everything in them, but on the seventh day he rested. That is why the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and set it apart as holy. Honor your father and mother, then you will live a long, full life in the land the Lord your God is giving you. You must not murder. You must not commit adultery. You must not steal. You must not testify falsely against your neighbor. You must not covet your neighbor's house. You must not covet your neighbor's wife, male or female servant, ox or donkey, or anything else that belongs to your neighbor. When the people heard the thunder and the loud blast of the ram's horn, and when they saw the flashes of lightning and smoke billowing from the mountain, they stood at a distance, trembling with fear. And they said to Moses, "You speak to us, and we will listen, but don't let God speak directly to us, or we will die." "Don't be afraid," Moses answered them, for God has come in this way to test you, and so that your fear of him will keep you from sinning. As the people stood in the distance, Moses approached the dark cloud where God was. Proper use of altars, Exodus 20, 22 through 26. And the Lord said to Moses, "Say this to the people of Israel. You saw for yourselves that I spoke to you from heaven. Remember that you must not make any idols of silver or gold to rival me. Build for me an altar made of earth and offer your sacrifices to me, your burnt offerings and peace offerings, your sheep and goats and your cattle. Build my altar wherever I cause my name to be remembered, and I will come to you and bless you. If you use stones to build my altar, use only natural, uncut stones. Do not shape the stones with a tool, for that would make the altar unfit for holy use. And do not approach my altar by going up steps. If you do, someone might look up under your clothing and see your nakedness." Fair treatment of slaves, Exodus 21 through 11. These are the regulations you must present to Israel. If you buy a Hebrew slave, he may serve for no more than 6 years. Set him free in the 7th year, and he will owe you nothing for his freedom. If he was single when he became your slave, he shall leave single. But if he was married before he became a slave, then his wife must be freed with him. If his master gave him a wife while he was a slave and they had sons or daughters, then only the man will be free in the 7th year. But his wife and children may still belong to his master. But the slave may declare, I love my master and wife and my children. I don't want to go free. And if he does this, the master must present him before God. Then his master must take him to the door or doorpost, and publicly pierce his ear with an awl. After that, the slave will serve his master for life. When a man sells his daughter as a slave, she will not be freed at the end of the 6 years as the men are. If she does not satisfy her owner, he must allow her to be brought back again. But he is not allowed to sell her to foreigners, since he is the one who broke the contract with her. But if the slave owner arranges for her to marry his son, he may no longer treat her as a slave, but as a daughter. If a man who has married a slave wife takes another wife for himself, he must not neglect the rights of the first wife to food, clothing, and sexual intimacy. If he fails in any one of these 3 obligations, she may leave as a free woman without making any payment. Stop sniffing me. I don't know what you're doing, but stop it. Colleen, his nose is driven right into me. Sniffing. Stop. There's nothing on me. It's driving me nuts. Cases of personal injury, Exodus 21:12 through 36. Anyone who assaults and kills another person must be put to death. But if it was simply an accident permitted by God, I will appoint a place of refuge where the slayer can run for safety. However, if someone deliberately kills another person, then the slayer must be dragged even from my altar and be put to death. Anyone who strikes father or mother must be put to death. Kidnappers must be put to death, whether they are caught in possession of their victims or have already sold them as slaves. Anyone who dishonors father or mother must be put to death. Now, suppose 2 men quarrel, and one hits the other with a stone or a fist, and the injured person does not die but is confined to bed. If he is later able to walk outside again, even with a crutch, the assailant will not be punished, but must compensate his victim for lost wages and provide for his full recovery. If a man beats his male or female slave with a club and the slave dies as a result, the owner must be punished. But if the slave recovers within a day or 2, the owner shall not be punished, since the slave is his property. Now, suppose 2 men are fighting, and in the process they accidentally strike a pregnant woman, so she gives birth prematurely. If no further injury results, the man who struck the woman must pay the amount of compensation the woman's husband demands, and the judges approve. But if there is further injury, the punishment must match the injury, life for life, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, a hand for a hand, a foot for a foot, a burn for a burn, a wound for a wound, and a bruise for a bruise. If a man hits male or female slave in the eye and the eye is blinded, he must let the slave go free to compensate for the eye. And if a man knocks out his tooth of a female or male servant, he must let the slave go free to compensate for the tooth. An ox scores a man or woman. If an ox scores a man or woman to death, the ox must be stoned, and its flesh may not be eaten. In such a case, however, the owner will not be held liable. But suppose the ox had a reputation for goring, and the owner had been informed, but failed to keep it under control. If the ox then kills someone, it must be stoned, and the owner must be put to death. However, the dead person's relatives may accept payment to compensate for the loss of life. The owner of the ox may redeem his life by paying whatever is demanded. The same regulation applies if the ox gores a boy or a girl. But if the ox gores a slave, either male or female, the animal's owner must pay the slave's owner 30 silver coins, and the ox must be stoned. Suppose someone digs or uncovers a pit and fails to cover it, and then an ox or a donkey falls into it. The owner of the pit must pay full compensation to the owner of the animal, but then he gets to keep the dead animal. If someone's oxes injures a neighbor ox and the injured ox dies, then the 2 owners must sell the live ox and divide the price equally between them. They must also divide the dead animal. But if the ox had a reputation for goring, yet its owner failed to keep it under control, he must pay full compensation, a live ox for a dead one, but he may keep the dead ox. Protection of property, Exodus 22:1 through 15. If someone steals an ox or a sheep and then kills it or sells it, the thief must pay back 5 oxen for each ox stolen and 4 sheep for each sheep stolen. If a thief is caught in the act of breaking into a house and is struck and killed in the process, the person who killed the thief is not guilty of murder. But if it happens in daylight, the one who killed the thief is guilty of murder. A thief who is caught must pay in full for everything he stole. If he cannot, he must be sold as a slave to pay for his theft. If someone steals an ox or a donkey or a sheep, and it is found in the thief's possession, then the thief must pay double the value of the stolen animal. If an animal is grazing in a field or a vineyard and the owner lets it stray into someone else's field to graze, the animal's owner must pay compensation from the best of his own grain or grapes. If you are burning thorn bushes and the fire gets out of control and spreads into another person's field, destroying the sheaves or the uncut grain or the whole crop, the one who started the fire must pay for the lost crop. Suppose someone leaves money or goods with a neighbor for safekeeping, and they are stolen from the neighbor's house. If the thief is caught, the compensation is double the value of what was stolen. But if the thief is not caught, the neighbor must appear before God, who will determine if he stole the property. Suppose there is a dispute between 2 people who claim a particular ox, donkey, sheep, article of clothing, or any lost property. Both properties must come before God, and the person who God declares guilty must pay the double compensation to the other. Now, suppose someone leaves a donkey, ox, sheep, or any other animal with a neighbor for safekeeping, but it dies or is injured or is taken away, and no one sees what happened. The neighbor must then take an oath in the presence of the Lord. The Lord confirms that the neighbor did not steal the property. The owner must accept the verdict with no payment, and no payment will be required. But if the animal was indeed stolen, the guilty person must pay compensation to the owner. If it was torn to pieces by a wild animal, the remains of the carcass must be shown as evidence, and no compensation will be required. If someone borrows an animal from a neighbor and it is injured or dies when the owner is absent, the person who borrowed it must pay full compensation. But if the owner was present, no compensation is required, and no compensation is required if the animal was rented, for this loss is covered by the rental fee. Woo! Some of that's hard to read. It's like reading a user manual for a laptop. Especially when there's a golden retriever's nose driven into your hand the whole time, trying to distract you. All right. I don't know, Grace. Is stuff saying people's comments are hidden? I don't know. I can't see that on this end. All right, we are going to read page 52, the poem titled Darkness into Light. It can be a song, and so there's a chorus. It says, he's bringing his people out. He's bringing his people out. He's bringing his people out of the darkness into light. You've been in the wilderness, oh, much too long, searching and reaching, but never knowing where you were bound. Jesus is the light, and worldly things has kept darkness all around. You may be rich, you may be poor, you may have never stepped foot in a church door. You've been on a worldly battlefield. Now Jesus is coming in view. You are one of the chosen few. The time set especially for your pace. You are a son of God born into a heavenly race. Receiving the word, line up, line, precept upon precept. The Jesus way is growing. The whole armor of God will surely be your clothing. March 28th, 1983. All right. Yes, for sure. He does. He cares about all the little details. Sometimes it's a lot to read. It's hard to I don't know. It's just hard to read. All right, my friends, let's go ahead and say a word of prayer. Father God, I thank you for this day. I thank you for this opportunity to come together with these ladies in worship before our King. God, I thank you for the promises in your word. And I thank you for the message that we read today. Even though it's sometimes tedious and hard to read all the rules and regulations, there is purpose, and your word does not return void. And I thank you for that reminder. I thank you that you care about the little details in our life. All the details and all the aspects of our life are wildly important to you. And I am grateful for that reminder today. God, I pray for each person here. I pray for Melissa with her mom being so sick, God. And I pray if it is your will, that you will just heal her and heal her lungs, God. And even though the outcome right now is the outlook is very grim, God, I pray your peace upon our friend Melissa today. I pray for her mom, and I just pray for the whole family as they walk through such a difficult time. God, I pray as we go through our day today that no matter where we are, you will help us to recognize you, help us to share the love of Christ in every place that we step foot today. I pray for traveling safety as we travel, and I just pray that you will keep us all safe and healthy as we travel. God, please go before us and keep our eyes focused on you and all that we say and do. In your precious name, amen. All right, my friends, we are headed to Asheville today, but not till a little later. So I am going to cook breakfast live. My plan is to always, for now, to be cooking through that cookbook, but I need groceries. I don't have any protein in this house to be able to cook any of the recipes. So I am going to make some overnight oats today so I can have them in the fridge, and I'll eat mine later this morning, even though it won't be overnight. I'm going to go ahead and make some peanut butter cup, I think, overnight oats. Somebody yesterday made peanut butter oats, and I was like, overnight oats. I thought, that sounds good. And then I thought, I could make peanut butter cup overnight oats with like a crispy shell on top. So that's what I'm going to do. So I hope you'll join me for that in a few minutes. All right. For anybody wondering, the retreat went on sale for clients, for current clients. I gave priority signups for active clients at 7 p.m. last night. And within 4 minutes, every VIP slot was gone. 4 minutes. Sold. My computer was going ding, 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 ding. Done. I'm like, whoa, what just happened? And there are like 10 seats left for the retreat. It's mind blowing to me. So I'll talk more about that on the Breakfast Live. I hope to see you there. I love you. Thank you for joining me this morning. And I hope you'll hang around for breakfast. Bye, guys.